Hi guys, this is our last video for Unit 1 for AP Computer Science Principles, and today we'll be going over topic 1.4, identifying and correcting errors. Okay, just some vocab to start off before we get into the actual categories. So you guys need to know that algorithms are step-by-step rules designed to solve a problem or task. So off to the left-hand side, you see that interesting but delicious looking sandwich. And the steps to make that is technically considered an algorithm. You need to get it into your mind that algorithms do not have a single thing to do with computers. Sure, computer code may be an algorithm, programs can be used to solve problems, but algorithms can be any set of steps in the world. It's just a group of step-by-step rules designed to solve a problem or task. Then a subcategory of an algorithm is a program. And a program is a group of program statements that perform a specific task. And in case you're wondering what is a program statements are the lines of code you'll see within a whole program. Okay, and some last few things we need to know is this unit topic is basically based upon errors. And in order to solve errors, sometimes you have to use defined inputs. What defined inputs are is specific data that we input to test a program. We already know what the outcome should be. So say we're testing a program that's talking about the experimental data of how many bananas a monkey eats. And our program is supposed to say that one monkey eats 23 bananas because that's what we saw in our actual lab when we were testing the data. That's a defined input we can use. We're going to put in what's the amount of bananas eaten if we have one monkey, and then we can check if the code is actually working the way it's supposed to or if there's an error based on what it comes out. Okay, lastly, you guys need to know that every computer has an extreme for the minimum and maximum values it can hold. So there will be a limit, where your computer can't store as big of a value as you're trying to make it. And that's going to cause an error we're going to cover in a little bit. Okay, so let's go over these errors. So just so you know, all coding errors are called bugs. And solving those errors is called debugging, but we'll get into that with the next slide. First type of errors that you need to know are syntax errors, and this is when the spelling or the grammar of the code isn't followed. And what I mean by that is you typed in a keyword wrong or you forgot to put a quotation mark. These aren't a problem with the code itself, it's more that you made a mistake while typing it. Okay, our next type of errors are logic errors. And logic errors are when the computer has an error in its base logic. What that's basically saying is that your computer is been made in some sort of way that it's pushing out code that's wrong. So a logic error could be that your computer believes 1 plus 1 is 3. That's a logic error that's going to cause all of its outputs to be incorrect. Okay, the third type of error that you guys need to know are runtime errors. And runtime errors occur when a program tries to do what's impossible, and in the process of it is just running forever. So one way to do this is I just say, keep dividing 5 by 2 until it equals 0. That's never going to happen. So the program is going to keep repeating itself and running forever, eventually causing the computer to crash. Okay, our fourth type of error that we need to know are overflow errors. Overflow errors happen when a computer tries to store a number that's too big. The computer can't store this large of a value, and as a result, it crashes as it can't deal with the number. Okay, and our last thing that we need to know, and this isn't technically included in what AP wants you to know, this isn't like actual vocabulary or keywords, but you can use this as proof if they ever ask you an FRQ question on how would you go about solving this error, and it's just good to know in general. Some solutions are that in order to solve errors, you can test a multitude of things. First, you can test different inputs, which is kind of like the defined inputs we talk about, except this one's also including not set data values. Like you can keep testing in different inputs to see if one step is the error. So like maybe you have some piece of code that only works when it's a word, and there's a piece of code that only works when there's a number. Well, so far you've been running it with code, a number and a word, so you don't know which one's causing the problem. So you can put in different inputs of words and numbers to find which part of the code is the problem. The next thing we can do is trace your code. And tracing, or you might hear as hand tracing, is when you literally take your finger up to your code and you go through each step one by one and you mark down what the values are and how they change while you're going through the code. This way you can find errors as in, oh, this is impossible, or that's what's making my program wrong. The third thing you can do is you can make visual representations. And honestly, it says flowcharts and diagrams. I mean, I wrote that, but most probably you're only going to see flowcharts. Flowcharts are when you have a start section and you go with arrows and you keep moving and you have these different symbols for like if statements when you're like deciding is it this or that, or you have like text boxes. You guys will definitely work through flowcharts in your class, most probably, so this will be no problem. And our last strategy we can use is using extra print statements to see what each step is outputting. So what you can literally do is you can put a print statement after every single line of code to see what each line of code is doing and changing and what it's making come out. And then obviously if it's all outputting correctly and then one of them it's an error, you guys know what the problem is. Okay, that was all for Unit 1. We're going to be starting Unit 2 soon. Hopefully I'll upload that video tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Goodbye.